I've built and delivered custom AI voice solutions to over 15 clients now, and this is the exact testing system that I use for every single one of them. By the end of this video, you should be able to learn how to automate your entire testing process and save you anywhere from 5 to 10 hours of your time that you would have otherwise been using to manually call the agent and test it out yourself. This is also the exact same SOP that I use inside my own agency, so you'll be able to download this guide in the description and replicate this process for your own agency yourself as early as today. So what we're going to be walking through today actually builds upon my previous video on what you actually need to test before launching a voice agent. So this is everything about what you could do in the simulations itself in retail. So if you haven't already checked that video, please feel free to check it out. I explain everything you need to know about what could be done manually and what could be tested automatically through like the retail simulations. So just to give you an idea here, basically this can be broken down to a very simple 7-step process. From once you're done with building the voice agent, you just want to basically export it, upload it to your LLM, paste the system prompt that I'm going to provide you with. It's going to generate all the different test cases and cover as many scenarios as possible. You're going to verify if it makes sense or not. Then you download it as a JSON file, import it to retail, and then start doing the testing. This is just a high-level overview of what we're going to be doing. But we're going to go more in depth here on what we actually and how we actually can do it, right? So just to understand what we need, first of all, we obviously need the JSON of the entire voice agent itself. So once you're done building, so let's take this example here. In our retail account, let's say we have a multi-intent tire service AI receptionist. This is one of your clients that you're going to be building it up for. What you want to do is click on export over here. You want to export your receptionist, your voice agent, whatever you call it. Click on export and you should get this JSON file here, which should look something like this. So what this does is basically it's your entire voice agent in JSON, right? So when you upload this to the LLM, it understands exactly what are the different nodes, what is the prompt that you're using for this voice agent, and what are the certain things that you're going to be looking out for. And in this video, I'm going to just essentially go through a simple use case here. And this is a fictional company. It's for a mobile tire company called Roadside Assist Pro. And what it does is basically it takes in call, it's able to route the inquiries, and it's able to answer questions like pricings or like transfer the call to a dispatcher and all that kind of stuff. So this is just a fictional company. And just to give you an idea, we have certain transitions that's able to do. So it's able to see if it's able to handle immediate assistance or any stranded emergency use cases. It's able to schedule appointment bookings, any non-urgent services. It's able to handle billing services, support issues, complaints, billing concerns. And also it's filtering out all the spam calls that you get, right? So if people are calling in and saying, oh, we're going to promote our SEO services, we have Google listings and stuff, we want to also filter that out. So the idea is that we want to provide all of this information to the LLM so that when we actually generate those test cases, we generate cases for each of these transitions, right? So assuming they have like emergency, we're going to generate a test case where the user has an emergency and requires some sort of assistance straight away. Then we could also generate test cases for scheduling, spam calls, billing services, and then each subsequent node or each subsequent prompt here, there are also some instructions that we have to follow, which we could also generate test cases for. So you can kind of see why there is so many testings involved, right? Because every single node require quite a high level of testing before you can verify that it works almost 80-90% of the time. So this is the reason why we want to export your JSON so that you can provide context as much as possible to your large language model so that they know what actually happens and how your voice agent is built out currently. Then you also want to gather supporting files like knowledge bases, any FAQs, or any extra documents from the company itself, and then upload that to LLM. I also had another video where I go through how to set up every single client project. So if you want to check that out, I explain more in depth on what specific documents that you need. So once we have all of those things, what you want to do is paste in a system prompt that I'm going to provide you with, upload those details, all the JSON, explain the use case briefly. This is kind of optional because we already provide all the information there. And then it's going to generate test cases for you, and then you're just going to download that as a JSON file. So this is the SOP that you will be able to download in the description. Basically, what we're going to do is we have this entire system prompt, which is a really long one, which I put a lot of thought into it. And this system prompt builds upon all the information that I provided you with in the previous videos, right? So just to quickly go through this, Basically, we are, it's an automated AI QA test designer. It has information, all the JSON files and stuff like that. But what's more important is the bits where we explain here. So first we understand the agent. We understand all the different branches, the conditions, any fallbacks, what are the different intentions, any call purposes, what's the conversation logic, the tools, dynamic variables, any RAG functionality where we want to retrieve information, the tone, persona, and constraints. And then we want to define the testing objectives. What are things that we want to test for? Like any happy paths, sad paths when the users are angry, they're frustrated, right? We want to test all of the different use cases here. Knowledge retrieval, what are the percentages, the accuracy of retrieving information like prices, policies, hours, and stuff like that. Dynamic variable handling, function calls, guardrails, different conversation styles. Some people speak really quick. Some people have short, long responses, repeated responses, different languages. We explain everything here, right? And then test case designs, we want to generate at least 8. If there are more, we could generate more than that. But typically, we try to aim for around 15 to 25, right? We don't want to do it too many times because we also want to then manually review it to see if it even makes sense at all, right? So around 15 to 25 is fine. Each test case has the, so they have their own specific goals. We explain everything here. The user prompt structure follows like the identity, goal, and personality. So just going to stick to that. And then the output format, this is a bit of a tricky one because now when you see in simulations, when you want to import test cases here, we want to follow a specific JSON format, right? And the JSON format that we want to use is actually like that. So we need things like the name. So this is just the name of that specific test case, any dynamic variables that you want to include in squiggly brackets, and then you want to add each individual variable inside here. Metrics is what is the positive success outcome, and user prompt is what this test case is about. Type, tool mocks, and then LLM. For the large language model, we're going to just use GPT-5 Nano. You can change this if you want, but you can actually have different models that you could use, right? You can use any of these models that's provided on retail, and then you can actually just manually do it here, right? But we're going to generate everything so that we can just easily import all 25 test cases instantly. So we don't really need to think much about that. So once we go through this, once we have this prompt set up, right, then this is just more explanation here. And yeah, this is more explanation. So once we're actually done with that, we have all the information we need. So we would then go into it will start to actually generate those test cases. And what we want to do is actually review them to see if it makes sense, because a lot of the times it could actually generate things that doesn't make sense at all. So therefore, you just need to reply more and just give it more context, right? So in this video, we're going to try to do it for this agent here. I've already exported it. So let me just quickly import that JSON to this chat. So this is for Roadside Assistant Assist Pro. And what I'm going to do is I'll just copy this entire system prompt, right? So I'm just going to copy that. Yeah, paste that, and then just send it first. And then next, as you can see here, so paste system prompt, verify test cases. So it should typically ask me some questions. So just going to take some while here. It's going to ask me some questions just to verify and clarify certain things. And then what you want to do is just reply to it, explain as much detail as possible, and then it should be able to generate those test cases. So let's wait for that for now. Okay, that was a long 7 minutes, but we are done. So now we have the entire JSON of all the different test cases. I'm not sure how many there is, it's quite long. But what we can do is basically just go through it each very quickly and see if it even makes sense at all, right? So let's look at the first one here. Happy path, emergency, flat tire on highway. So agent classifies the call as emergency. The user prompt is you are a stranded driver, you need help. We have a flat tire, you need immediate help, get a mobile technician out. Okay, that makes sense, right? And then one that's not urgent at all, happy path. You're on the roadside, you need mobile tire service. Get a clear price estimate, so you're getting prices, and dispatch. Yep, that's fine. So you want to just try to review all of these things and see if it even makes sense at all to your specific use case. So in this case here, this makes sense. So I think I'm quite happy with it. Feel free to refine it, obviously, when it doesn't make sense at all. But now that we are happy with that, what we want to do next is we want to get this as a JSON file. So now we have that. We want to just copy this. So convert the following content into JSON file and output it as a downloadable. So now it would just convert that and put it into a JSON, which we could download and import to our simulations. So I prompted it a little bit more. So now we have the entire JSON for all 20 test cases that is generated. So I've just downloaded that, and what we want to do is import it to retail. And it should have all of these test cases just automatically enriched for us. So let's see that. Okay, so we have all the different test cases here. And what you actually want to do when you're done with this is, again, just try to quickly go through if everything makes sense. Is it properly named? So this is in user prompt. Is it properly written there? The success criteria and stuff like that, right? So we can just run through a few test cases here. So let's say we run like 5. I'm gonna run test here. Okay, so it's done with all the testings, and you can see there's only a 20% success rate here. Maybe because this is still an example agent, it doesn't actually work. But typically when you're done with this, you want to see and try to have all of these test cases passed, right? And once you actually have these run, you want to go through each of it and see if it actually makes sense or not, right? So look through it, see manually if whether it makes sense, whether the conversation is correct. And in this case, it seems okay, right? We understand. And also we have different variations in terms of the length of the conversation. So here you can see the agent's actually speaking quite a long time. There's like 3 sentences. So you can actually modify it and say you could only maximum output like 2 sentences when you reply, right? And then this one is just like testing if it's speaking other languages. Here we say we only speak English, so that passed. And then this one, talked about this earlier. But yeah, so here this one's testing to see if it has memory. And then it mentions that it doesn't have past memory. And if you look at this conversation, technically it's correct, but it failed in the success outcome. So maybe you can modify the criteria for whether it passed or not. So all of these things are done manually, right? So I have an extra test case here, but yeah, so that's basically it, right? The entire process of always having to take whatever it generates, run it through the simulations and see if everything even makes sense at all. If everything passes and you go through each one of them and it makes sense, then this saves you a lot of time in terms of going back and forth in testing every single thing whenever you make a change, right? So that helps out with a lot of time saving and stuff. But just want to quickly end it off just to give you a few tips on how you can actually use simulations. Again, we want to read the transcript. We don't just look at the result, whether it passed, because sometimes it actually says it passed, but it doesn't actually make sense, right? So always go through it manually, read the conversations that is had, see if it's able to call the right functions and even make sense at all, right? Focus each test on one thing. Don't test multiple different things under one test case, right? Focus on one each time. So cover unhappy paths, happy, unhappy, confused, all the different emotions that customers could have. Test retrieving business details. This is more of like the right functionality here. Skepticism, objections. If let's say you have like a knowledge base which contains all of the different responses for objections that you will get, is it able to retrieve those objections and answer it correctly, right? You can test that as well. Test different speaking styles. Like I mentioned, short answers, long stories, fast, slow, out of order, all that stuff. Use both simulations and human testings. Some things you need to test manually. So things like judging the tone of the voice, the sound, is it able to speak conversationally, all that stuff. And then copy and tweak test manually. Yeah, basically all this information. We try to simplify it as easy as possible. But yeah, feel free to check it out, right? Look into the SOP that you have in the description. Modify it as you wish to your own, that suits your own way of doing it. And I hope this really helps, and you can probably save a lot of time doing this entire process. So yeah, if you have any other questions, just drop a comment, let me know. And if you want more content like that on different things that I use to optimize your workflow and how to build agents in a more efficient way, and anything that has to do with all this stuff, let me know, and I'll make more videos like that. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.